Welcome everybody. Welcome back to Vibing with and Dwaylee. So 1 year has passed since I have um to moved to a new country, started a new working at a new school, and this is just a little overview video of how the year was. So if you're interested in that, then just keep on watching. All right, so there are a couple of videos where I spoke about some of my experiences. I'll try my best to link it in the top right corner, top right corner, right? So you can check out those videos if you did not watch that. So I have a few questions, and saw some comments under those same videos. So I'll try to just speak on those few points and to just give an overview, an honest overview of how my experience, my year was teaching in overseas or a US um, high school. Just to give an overview, so I was teaching at an high school in South Carolina. Uh, I teach math. Um, I was teaching specifically Algebra 1, Algebra 2. So, how they do it in high school and my high school is that they split up the whole mathematics into different courses. So, Algebra 1, Algebra 2, you have geometry, you have calculus, trigonometry, I think, um, prob and stats, and I think you have pre-algebra as well, right? So in the maths department, different teachers are given different classes to teach. So I taught Algebra 1, Algebra 2, which was mainly, so Algebra 1 was mainly for the freshmen, so the grade 9 students who just came from middle school. And I also taught Algebra 2, which would be the sophomores, the grade 10 students. But it was a mixture. So in my Algebra 2, I had students grade 10, 11, I had a few grade 12, especially those who failed. Um, yeah, I would end up get some of those students who failed and have to resit, right? So math is a core subject. So if they fail the class, they would have to resit, or they have an option to get it done, recovery, to do recovery in the summer school, and so forth. All right. So back to the first question. It says, "What would I change?" So what would I change about the school year? I would say, when I reflect, when I just came, you know, the US school system was very different to some extent from the school that I taught in Jamaica. So I think procedures, I would implement procedures from the get go. So that was one thing. So I came in August, and I was told this in the meetings that you need to have your procedures in place, but I don't think I really understood how important it was for there to be a routine, for there to be a procedure, and to be consistent with it. So that was one of my major issue. I didn't know some of the stuff as well. It was kind of difficult to implement changes after a month or so. It was very difficult. So that was one of the main thing, implementing procedures from the start and sticking to it. But however, for the spring semester, I think I got a hang of that because I was there for a whole semester, so I got a hang of the how things were supposed to go. So that set of students, I think, I from the first day I tried to enforce certain procedures, and it was much better than my first semester. So, yeah, the next thing was, I should have started preparing for class early. So when I reflect, um, I didn't, I knew that I would get a classroom for myself and so forth. And the classroom was actually an English room before, so there wasn't any math related stuff in there. So it was a pretty much new classroom, empty classroom, blank classroom. And if I didn't really think about it to say, okay, start coming up with ideas from before, how I wanted the class to be and so forth. So it was late, like in that preparation week when I should be putting up stuff. That was when I started to order stuff on Amazon and so forth. And it didn't come until, you know, the Thursday, Friday. Even when school started, that was after school, I would have to be putting up a one post and fixing up stuff. So um, that's one thing that I would change, and I intend to change for the upcoming semester, even though I already have stuff and I worked on stuff over time. But for the preparation, I already start, putting together my my cart with stuff that I want to what I need for this upcoming semester. Changes, decorations that I want to put up. I already start putting those, and closer to the time I intend to get those so that I can have them for the week that we are slated to work on our classroom. So I can have them to actually work in that week and not have it spill over into when school officially starts. All right. So those are the two main things that I can think about that I would change. You know. Uh, Also, I would say um, more holidays. I think Jamaica gives more holidays than over here, right? They're very strict on their 90 days school, having 90-day semester, right? So the holidays are not that much, 1 and 2 day. That's one thing I would change. So, like Easter, you get a little 2 week, and so there's no 2 week holiday in the entire school year. Nothing like that, right? We get holidays, but it's not that much. And the last thing would be the student attitude. Students' attitude towards learning, towards teacher. Some of them, and I know that it boils down to their background, right? Because when I talk to some of the students and get to actually know them, that you know using curse words and so forth is something that they're accustomed to at their home. So they come to school and do the same thing, based on their background, how they speak to an adult or a teacher, you know, they don't see it as anything because that is how they speak to their peers in their community and so forth. So, you know, but still, there are some students, they're great students, and there are some students who just give you a warm time sometime and it just, so, that's one thing that I would change. Anyways, let's move to the next question, which is what are some things I accomplished this school year? What are some things that I accomplished? So I have learned a lot. I'm not going to lie. I've learned a lot. Anchor charts. So I learned that in university. Chart making. That's something that I never do in teaching in Jamaica because again, it doesn't make sense. Well, I have made one or two little charts, bring them with me, but it's not something that um, the anchor chart purpose is defeated because the students stay in their classroom and they have all of their classes in their classroom, opposed to here in the US where you have your specific class. So if I put up a poster, or if I put up an anchor chart, then it's going to remain there. It's going to stay there. Okay, and when the students come, you have that to refer to. So anchor charts has been one thing that I have accomplished that I started to use, and I think it was beneficial to some students, right? So an anchor chart is just a chart with information, so like formulas and so forth that you the teacher can refer to during your lesson. So for example, I'm teaching slope, right? Having an anchor chart with the three slope formulas. Sorry, not slope. The three formulas that we use in teaching of slope and so forth. So point, slope, form, um, slope, intercept, and standard form, having those three formulas and referring to it when you get questions, right? That somewhat helps because we're humans and the students are not going to remember the formulas. So having an Anchor chart is very, it's a good idea. The next thing is new methods of grouping engagement. So again, I learned this in, have had classes in university, but I don't think I really used this that much in the Jamaican school system. However, up here, I have gotten more chance to do different type of grouping. You know, you think, peer, share, peers for my spring semester, the semester that just ended. The peer thing was something that really was successful for some of my classes. Some there are some other activities like using. It was this semester that I during a seminar that we had learned about cups. So having cups for them to indicate. So instead of students just every minute, sir, 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 they use cups. So I give them a green and a red cup, and the red cup is to indicate that, hey, I need help. Green cup represents that I'm good. You don't have to come to me, right? So that's something that I used for a little while, and I think it really worked. Um, and yeah, there were some other stuff. There are even more stuff that I learned that I didn't get to really implement that for the upcoming semester. I want to try, but there are a whole lot of resources from the meetings. There are a whole lot that I've learned. Some of them will work, some might not work, but there are a whole lot of new methods and engagement ideas that have been thrown out, and yeah, so that's one thing that I think I've also accomplished or learned. The next thing is new activities and technology. So this is the US. There are more technology, more activities, and more technological assistance or aids, more technological resources that are readily available. So in Jamaica, when I was teaching online, I've used quizzes, I've used Edpuzzle, but IXL has been another um, tool that has been very effective to some extent. There are some students who cheat, but it has been a very effective and useful activity, online activity. There are a whole lot of resources. There is a what do you call her? Instructional facilitator, or like a coach, a technology coach that is available, and she also helped out with finding some online resources. You know, it there were more stuff that are readily available for me. So that's another thing that I've accomplished, learning to use some of these stuff and using them in my classroom. And the last thing is the evaluations and my student learning outcome was good. That is pretty much my assessment. So it's done a bit different here in the US. So in Jamaica, it would be done at the end of the school year, but we actually do it throughout the year. So for fall, that is the first semester, we each teacher needs to do a student learning outcome SLO, where you give a pre-test, teach a particular topic, and give a post-test, and then you must analyze the student's performance and so forth. I did great on that. Students grasp the concept. Um, we are also evaluated one, so announced evaluation in the fall. I did great on that. Most of the the criteria were proficient or exemplary. I got 1 or 2 areas that I needed to work on. And for spring, it was also good. It was an unannounced observation. Uh, Funny enough, I just recovered from the flu and I was out of it when they came to to observe me. But I did what I had to do, and yeah, I did well. I did well in their eyes. All right. So those are just a few things that I've accomplished. Um, Next question is, what was easy compared to past years? Also teaching in Jamaica. I would say the grading and the type of assignments. Right now, I am dying when I'm seeing my Jamaican colleagues, posting the exam papers and so forth. Examinations just finished, um, are still going on in Jamaica, right? That's one thing that I don't miss because right now, in July, um, end of June, July, I would be stressed out. I remember last year I was so stressed out having all of the papers, and it's even harder when a foolishness step on the paper, right? It makes it even harder to mark the papers. So I don't miss that. And up here, it is much easier, right? The type of you make your own assignments, how you want it fit. So um, and actually, my HOD from Jamaica would always tell me this that it's not about the quantity but the quality, right? So you don't have to give a 10 question and use it as an assignment. That's crazy. I started to do that when I just came. Mm, hope I'm marking up, and I stopped because you don't need to have 10 questions, right? Unless it's a big test or something. But you can have a one question that pretty much tests the concept that you taught, right? So I tried my best to give assignments that um, will be easy to mark, right? So for me, like an entrance ticket, sometimes I give an entrance ticket, an exit ticket, right? So give them a little sticky note. So a sticky note, and I give a one question, right? Depending. So let's say that I give five questions from the class where I would say the last question, write it on the sticky note, and yeah, just grade that based on how they do. I give them their marks. Same thing for the entrance ticket. I might give a one or two questions. They'll do it on a folder paper, do it in a book, or sometimes I create a Google form, sometimes I give a quizzes. Um, Ed puzzle, IXLs is the main type of assignment that I give. So I'll give them a whole lot of IXLs. I'll give a whole lot of Ed puzzles, a whole lot of quizzes, and I'll pick from them and use those as assignments. Also, I try to update the grade book very frequently. The students have access to it, so they will be they are very annoying. Some of them are very annoying, I'm not going to lie. So every minute, sir, you have not updated my grades, right? They expect that as I give an assignment I should just sit down and put it down. I don't have a life, but that really pushes me to get the grades done. So when the grading period ends, I don't have that much stress to say, oh Jesus, I have to put in 10 grades, because what I try to do is on a weekly basis. So it's much easier, right? So when the semester ends, um, I don't have that much work to do, right? And the examination for the end of semester, for again, Algebra 1, it's a EOC, so I just administer the examination, but the district marks it. They send back the score, and all I have to do is put in whatever score they get. For my Algebra 2, it's a Google Farm. I normally use a Google Farm, or some type of online um, examination. I give them about 50 questions, open ended and multiple choice. And especially with a Google Farm or quizzes, it marks it for you. So I normally just skim through, especially the open ended, and ensure that the computer didn't make any mistakes, and then I just put in the grade. So it takes me maybe about an hour to mark or to enter all of those exam grades, opposed to in Jamaica where it will be weeks or getting somebody to assist you. I don't have to go through all of that stress. Yeah. The next thing is, so yeah. So the grading and the type of assignments, the final examination format, as I just said. The last thing is pay is okay, and there are other opportunities. So that's one thing compared to Jamaica. So for persons, I think for persons who live here in the US, they would complain that the pay is not sufficient because they would have a particular lifestyle that they want to maintain. But for persons, well, I can't have it myself. Me coming from Jamaica, where we know that teachers don't get much pay in Jamaica. But when you come to the US now, I think it works. Once it is that you don't try to live beyond your means, and again, there are opportunities. So there are after school club programs that you can teach. There are other job opportunities that the district will announce at the start of the school year that you can sign up for. and you can work, and get some extra bucks. And I think it's okay. It's manageable. It's manageable. You can you can save. So you just have to be wise about your spending habits and so forth, and don't live beyond your means, but try to live below your means, right? And you will be fine. So that's another thing that is good compared to past years or compared to Jamaica. All right, so two more questions. The next one is, what caused me the most stress? The students. So students who try to be disrespectful. Again, I'm somewhat understanding that it's some of them is because of their background, what they're used to, right? But the disrespect, sometimes some of them will try to be disrespectful, and that was something that was very stressful. And whenever they're disrespectful, they have to call parents. That's another thing. For me, being a what introvert and ambivert, whatever, it's not my favorite thing to do, to be calling five parents per day and so forth, when a student, because that is what is required of us, especially so if a student misbehaves, student is missing for a while, if a student didn't do something that they ought to do or something. And even for positive reinforcement, you are required to, have that relationship with the parents. And it's very rough because there are some parents who will be supportive, but then there's some parents who will also be disrespectful, hang up the phone on you, hang up the phone on you and so forth. I cannot understand you. All right, and try to defend their child and all of that. But yeah, that was one thing that was I don't think I really get a hang of it as yet, but I have to do what I must, right? Also, there are other methods that we can use. So there's something called talking points, which is texting application that my school or my district uses. So I also uses that. So depending on the situation, I will also just send a text message. It goes to the app or to the parents SMS, and that works. There are some parents who communicates with me, who communicated with me because I don't have their students I don't have their child anymore. So they communicated with me via text message using Talking Point, the application. So they don't have my number, so whenever they send a text message, it comes through the app. All right. So that's another method. But yeah, calling, texting, and the after school meetings is another thing that I really dread because teaching for from 8 to 4, and then you have to wait until 5:30 to meet with parents. So open house, or for the first and second grading period, there is a teacher parent conference that's for like 2 hours. So you're not going to go home until maybe about 6:30 somewhere there, and then you have to go home and prepare for school the next morning. So it's very hectic. In Jamaica, for parent teacher conference or open house, you normally have a specific day where you would have to go to work, but you wouldn't have to teach, right? Or my past school, um, they would incorporate it. So let's say, for example, first farmers normally have orientation or something. They would let their parents come in, and whatever class that they have, the teacher would just bring them and whatever, incorporate it within the school hours. But this is after school hours, so that's something that I really dread. But it's not that much, and you just have to adjust. So it's a give and take some in some areas. Next thing, what are some stuff that I loved? I would say the support that was given by the school. So again, um, they have different facilitators. So the new teachers had a particular instructional facilitator. Actually, two of them, right? One relating to technology wise. So she, as I said, she gave me resources, and she would send out little messages. So with visual steps of how to do stuff, which was very helpful, like how to put on grades, how to print your grades and so forth to bring them to the guidance office. Because when they just come, I didn't know how to do it, right? And even though they said it in the meeting, but you're not going to remember. But close to the time, she normally send out screenshots and so forth, which has been very helpful. Um, the new teacher facilitator, she's also helpful because she's not going to see this, Dr. Owini, but her personality and so forth. She is very helpful, right? If you have any problem, call her when she's available. She's coming. She's going to assist you whatever way she can, and she has been a great help for me specifically to adjust to the changes and so forth. Yeah, yeah. So that's the main thing that I would say that I loved. And my final comments that it was a okay fall semester. As I said, there were certain procedures that I didn't know about, and there are certain things that I had to make just slide. But spring was much better in some extent. I think I had much more of a relationship with the spring students. Right, it was just a much better semester for me. Um, yeah, and I survived. As I said, my evaluation was good. I remember in Jamaica, I would be very nervous when it comes on to whenever I see like my HOD or somebody come into the class. But up here, it becomes a norm because I had a mentor. She had to come every now and then. My facilitator, the new teacher facilitator, like every month, I would see her several times in my class. We would just pop in, pop out. She do that with most teachers, most of the new teachers. So it became the norm, and it was okay. It was okay. It was okay. It was okay. So yeah, I survived. I survived, and I'm here. Looking forward to the next year. There might be some changes, but I'm just here for it. This is it. So guys, thank you for watching. Um, yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. It was insightful to some extent. And, remember before you go, like, share, subscribe, and stay tuned for some more videos. Goodbye.